Hey, look. Oh. Oh, no, they done fucked the girl up, boy. Oh, hold up. That nigga out here. What is that, 5? Oh, my fucking God. Girl shot, bro. Have you seen my lady? Oh, my God. I ain't got my phone. Oh, they done shot this fucking girl, bro. Oh, my God. What they shot her at?
The concrete is still wet. A pink wig lies tangled in blood, and someone's phone is still live streaming the whole thing. Hearts and laughing emojis floating across the screen. She was the one who made people smile. The stylist whose chair always had a waiting list. The girl who called her cousin for help, seconds before a bullet tore through her skull. Ever think your friends would die protecting you? Or worse, stand there and fail. We've covered ambushes. We've seen revenge killings. But what happened in this courtyard? This one's different. Because this time, the crowd didn't set run. They filmed. The camera is shaking. Her voice is cracking. The gun is rising.
And the people watching?
They're still commenting. But what none of them knew, what not even she knew, was that this wasn't just a fight anymore. It was an execution waiting to happen. Before the Facebook Live. Before the screams. Before the blood hit concrete, there was just Michaela. Not the victim, not the girl who got shot, just Ruby. The woman behind the chair, behind the brand, behind the boys. Her neon salon sign glowed Ruby Kior in soft cursive, casting pink light over curlers, clippers, and careful hands. She was only 22, but her name already whispered in Orlando beauty circles like a promise. Bookings, weeks out. Clients came in with tangled edges. They left sculpted, styled, and smiling. That's what Ruby did. She didn't just fix hair. She fixed moods, hustled with love, worked with gospel music humming under her breath. And when her hands weren't crafting lace fronts or bleaching knots, they were holding the little fingers of two small boys, Messiah 5 and Zion 4, her sons, her pride, her anchor. This is who she was before. Michaela Queen Patterson didn't grow up rich, but she grew up close with her mom Janelle, her grandmother Seckermel, and especially her cousin Devin Gaines. If Devin was in the room, Ruby was laughing. If Ruby was in a mood, Devin was the one she called. Not a cousin, a brother with a different mom. They weren't raised to take shortcuts. That's why Ruby worked multiple jobs. Envy Hair Designs by day, Cureco LLC online by night. She was putting wigs in mailers while Zion napped on the couch beside her. Her captions weren't clout chasing. They were filled with scripture, prayers for growth, posts about healing. This wasn't said someone on the edge of trouble. This was a woman walking toward the light. Just 3 weeks before the attack, a close friend had messaged her something strange. I know what it is, Ruby, but I had a bad feeling. Just be careful. Michaela replied with a laughing emoji. Girl. I am blessed. God got me. And for a while, it looked like he did. In September 2023, things were lining up. Her oldest had just started kindergarten. She's set to hit 11K on Instagram. That week, she opened October bookings with her usual sparkle, slots filling fast. Get in before the glow-up train leaves. It didn't sound like someone living in fear. It sounded like someone who finally believed good things were coming. So what made her end up in the middle of Jernigan Gardens apartments on September 22nd? That's the question no one has answered cleanly. Friends say she might have been there to settle a personal beef. Some say she was pulled into a friend's mess. Others think she was just caught off guard. What we do know is this. Just after 2 p.m., Michaela called Devin. Her voice wasn't calm anymore. Come get me. I'm getting jumped. She wasn't set being dramatic. Witnesses would later confirm that she was outnumbered in a fight that had spiraled. There were multiple women. Then suddenly, men. The phone call lasted seconds. But the emotion behind it? It was pure panic. Devin didn't sit wait. He ran. He and Michaela's brother both headed straight for the Jernigan Gardens complex on Mercy Drive, a place that locals didn't need Google Maps to know was dangerous. Around there, they didn't call it Windsor Cove anymore. They called it Murder Drive. And while they rushed to find her, Michaela was trying to survive. In the courtyard, things were shifting. A crowd was gathering. Phones were out. Some were yelling. Others were filming. A fight between girls was becoming something darker. Michaela, petite, scrappy, refusing to back down, had been knocked down, according to witnesses, thrown to the ground by a man. But she got back up. That Sips the part people keep saying over and over. She got back up. And that Sips when the crowd swelled. That's when two men began to move toward the center of the chaos. That sets when the live stream started. Not a single person watching through a screen knew her name. But everyone filming knew exactly what was about to happen. Pause the video. If your cousin called you begging for help, what would you do? Devin ran. And now we're asking you, have you liked this video yet? Did you share it so someone else doesn't miss this pattern? And if you're watching without subscribing to True Crime Case Tapes, why not? Seriously, drop a comment and tell us. Because stories like Michaela Set's done that go viral on their own. They get buried when people scroll past. Let Sets rewind. Not to Ruby Sips' smile, not to Devin Sips' run. Let's start exactly where the blood started pooling. 2:29 p.m. A girl screams. 2:30 p.m. A punch lands. 2:31 p.m. The first phone starts live streaming. The Jernigan Gardens apartments were already buzzing. Dozens of people had come outside, some drawn by the shouting, others already mid-argument. What started as a squabble between women morphed into an escalating, multi-front confrontation. There were groups yelling across courtyards, some pushing, others just watching. But then it happened. One man broke from the crowd and grabbed Michaela. Not pushed, grabbed. Eyewitnesses say she hit the concrete hard, but she stood back up. Her makeup smeared, hair loose, but fists clenched. That Sets when someone yelled, "She ain't set alone. Her people on the way." Devin and her brother were pulling into the complex. Michaela didn't know that. The crowd didn't take care. Somewhere inside that moment, when fists were thrown and bystanders were still debating who swung first, two other men started moving differently. One of them was 23-year-old Delray Deli Duncan Jr., a known face around Jernigan Gardens. He didn't run, he didn't de-escalate. He reached for his waistband. A few steps away, Gary Lee Williams III, just 18 years old, made a similar move. The live stream caught it, not clearly, not enough to flag, but later, frame by frame, detectives would spot it. Two guns, two hands, two men breaking away from the fight. 2:34 p.m. A single shot, close range. Michaela Set's head jerks. She drops. People scatter, but not all. Some phones keep recording. Others scream. One shouts, "Yo, they shooting!" The camera pans, but the screen shakes. Gary Williams, just feet behind her, allegedly pulled the trigger. A bullet to the back of the head. Execution style. Mid-fight. Midday. Mid-video. 3 seconds later, the second shooter opens fire. Devin had just reached the edge of the chaos when Delray Duncan raised his weapon and fired again at him. Shot after shot. Devin dropped, hit multiple times, crawling for cover, screaming her name. One round hits his side, another grazes his leg. He sees her, unmoving. But somehow he pulls his own gun. Devin had a concealed carry license. That day, it likely saved his life. He returned fire. Now it wasn't just a shooting. It was a war zone. Gunshots echoed across the courtyard. Neighbors dropped to their stomachs. Children screamed. One woman sobbed behind a car. Another whispered into her phone. She sips, not moving. I don't think she sips moving. Facebook Live caught it all. Bullet cracks, screaming, and finally, the collapse. A voice on the stream said, almost laughing, "Damn, they really dropped her. Let that sink in." Not, they hurt her. They dropped her. Like she was a prop. A problem solved. That moment told detectives everything they needed to know about the environment. This wasn't just violence. This was performance. When the gunfire stopped, the panic didn't. Gary Williams vanished. Slipped through the crowd. Faded into doorways. Gone. Delray Duncan, hit in the leg, was helped into a black Chevy sedan by at least two others. Witnesses shouted to 911 dispatchers. A car just peeled off, black front end smashed. They hit that girl and took off. Police spotted the vehicle within minutes. A high-speed chase unfolded through West Orlando. Sirens, helicopters, roadblocks. The Chevy crashed at Old Winter Garden Road in Duncan Place. Duncan Place. How seps that for irony? Inside the vehicle, Duncan, bleeding. A second man with a gunshot wound. A third later identified as Christian Amari Childs. The scene froze. Guns drawn. 3 young men surrendered. At least 2 did, for sure. One may have tried to run again. But police got them. All 3 were taken into custody. But something didn't add up. In the hours that followed, Michaela lay in critical condition at ORMC. Devin was in surgery. And the man who pulled the trigger? Still missing. It was a Sid Duncan. Surveillance footage and later Facebook Live made that horrifyingly clear. The fatal shot had come from behind her, from a different angle, from Gary Williams III. Here sits, where the weight, start stacking up. Williams had no criminal record, no priors, no known beef with Michaela. He was just 18. And yet, when it came time to decide between fight and flight, he chose murder. 11 days later, on October 3rd, OPD's Fugitive Task Force cornered him in Orlando. No shootout, no struggle, just handcuffs and silence. But the damage? Done. Meanwhile, investigators kept digging. The footage wasn't set just helpful, it was damning. Frame by frame, they confirmed, Michaela was unarmed. Shot while trying to move away. At least 3 separate guns fired in the melee. Bullet holes in walls. Shell casings all over the pavement. Livestream comments confirming what phones couldn't set capture. He ain't sit even hesitate. She ain't sit deserve that. Why pull a gun if she just fighting? And then there was Christian Childs. At first, just a face in the car. But months later, March 2024, police tracked digital trail and rewatched footage. Childs wasn't sit, just present. He was armed. He allegedly fired at least once, possibly more, toward Devin in the crowd. His charges? 3 counts of attempted murder. Gun crimes. No murder charge. He didn't hit Michaela. But the message was clear. Every trigger pulled that day would face consequences. As detectives connected the dots, something frightening came into focus. This wasn't set up, premeditated hit. No stalking, no betrayal, no setup. This was masculinity gone nuclear. A backyard brawl turned bloodbath. Fist bruised pride, so bullets followed. Back in the hospital, Michaela's mother arrived just after the ambulance. She was told her daughter had been shot, that she was unconscious, that she might not make it. Her sons, Messiah and Zion, were still with a neighbor, too young to understand. A nurse asked if she wanted to see her daughter. She nodded, then broke. And in another wing of the same hospital, Devin lay unconscious, bleeding, broken, not yet told his cousin was gone. He would undergo 5 surgeries. And when he woke up, they waited. Waited for him to get stronger before telling him. Waited before saying it out loud. Michaela didn't make it. If your chest feels heavy right now, good. It should. What happened to Michaela isn't rare. It's just one of the few times someone was filming. If you think someone else needs to see this, hit share. Hit like if you believe this wasn't just a tragedy, it was a warning. And if you've watched this far without subscribing to True Crime Case Tapes, explain why. Because this story isn't set over, and neither is the pattern we stir about to expose. This wasn't set a hit. This wasn't set revenge. This wasn't set even personal. So why did Michaela Queen Patterson, 22 years old, stylist, mother of 2, end up dead? It starts with rage and ends with ego. The men who pulled guns that day weren't strangers to power games, but they did not plan a murder. They weren't set creeping through shadows. They were surrounded by people, by cameras, by sunlight, and they still did it. Because in their world, a brawl wasn't something to diffuse, it was something to win. And when fists were set enough, they escalated. Let Babs break it down. Gary Lee Williams III, 18. No priors, no known beef with Michaela, no criminal record. But when she got back up from being knocked down, when she refused to cower, he allegedly fired a round into the back of her head. Why? Maybe he thought it made him untouchable. Maybe he thought it made him respected. Maybe he didn't set think at all. No pause, no warning, just trigger pull. His name didn't appear in police records before this, but in 1 second he became the primary killer in a daylight execution. Not because he planned it, but because he couldn't tolerate losing face in a courtyard full of phones. Delray Deli Duncan Jr., 23, lived at Jernigan Gardens, arrested 20 plus times since age 12. By the time he was 18, he'd already been locked up for beating a juvenile detention officer. In 2020, he was arrested for armed robbery, battery with a deadly weapon, and grand theft. He had a known pattern. Violence was currency. That day, he didn't sit aim at Michaela. He aimed at Devin, the cousin running to her rescue. Because in Duncan's logic, the fight couldn't be allowed to swing. The balance couldn't net tilt. So he opened fire, shot Devin multiple times. Didn't Set flinch? Later in court, he pleaded not guilty. Said he wasn't Set the one who killed her. Maybe he wasn't Set, but he tried to kill her family. And under Florida law, that makes him just as responsible. Christian Amari Childs, 18. No public rap sheet before this. But investigators say he was armed, and that he fired at the crowd. He didn't ask to hit Michaela. He didn't Set hit Devin, but he shot. In a crowd. With kids nearby, he wasn't Set to protect her. He was a participant. And the state charged him like one. But let's zoom out. Because this isn't Set just about 3 bad actors. It's about an entire environment. Jernigan Gardens, also known as Mercy Drive, is a place where fights are filmed, not stopped. Where yelling escalates to gunfire. Where neighbor feuds spill into courtyards. And where too many residents say, it's Set just how it is. But how it is became the reason a mother of 2 is now buried. What happened that day was a perfect storm of hypermasculinity. Men who equated violence with strength. Crowd performance. A fight staged in front of phones and filters. Weapon normalization. At least 4 different firearms were present. Lack of accountability. The belief that chaos equals no consequences. The shooters didn't care who was watching. They cared that everyone was. And that made them even more dangerous. Let's not forget the bystanders. The people filming. The ones commenting wow while Michaela bled out. The ones who said nothing until the stream went viral. In one clip, you can hear someone say, that's what she gets for talking crazy. As if disagreement earns death. As if being loud is a capital offense. That comment, Set's not just cruel. It sets a mirror of the culture that killed her. But there sips one voice that cuts through louder than any of theirs. Devin Gaines. Michaela Sip's cousin. Her shield. He ran in unarmed. Got shot. Pulled his licensed weapon. Returned fire. Survived 5 surgeries. And when asked about that day, he didn't talk about guns. He didn't talk about ego. He said, I just did not want her to be alone. Let that sit. That's what real strength sounds like. This case is just about cold-blooded masterminds. It's about boys who became killers in a courtyard because someone bruised their pride, because they had a gun in their pocket, and because the crowd egged them on. It's about men who didn't think long enough to ask why, only fast enough to shoot. Internal trigger reveal. There sits a detail not in most reports. A voice off screen, caught on Facebook Live after the last shot. A male voice says, get the car. Get the car. Leave her, she sits done. They didn't check her pulse. They didn't call for help. They left her face down in a courtyard. The difference between Michaela and them, she showed up that day with her hands. They showed up with weapons. She was fighting for respect. They were fighting for spectacle. And when the dust settled, only one of them was lying in blood. Justice didn't come in a single moment. Came in fragments, through footage, through warrants, through wounds that hadn't even closed yet. Delray Duncan Jr. was the first to fall. His leg was bleeding when police boxed in the Chevy. By that night, he was booked at the hospital under armed guard. The charges stacked fast. First-degree felony murder, 3 counts of attempted murder, aggravated assault, possession of a firearm by a felon, no bail, no exit. He entered a plea of not guilty. But the video, the shell casings, the car chase, it sits all waiting in the courtroom. Gary Lee Williams III didn't set come easy. He disappeared for 11 days, vanishing from the complex like he never existed. But surveillance doesn't blink. And Facebook doesn't forget. OPD's fugitive unit found him on October 3rd, 2023. 18 years old, no prior arrests, but charged with first-degree murder for the shot that ended Michaela's life. His face was blank in court, but when prosecutors listed the charges, he trembled. Christian Amari Childs was the mystery. He wasn't arrested until March 2024, 6 months later, but detectives say he was there, armed, firing. He now faces 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder and multiple weapons violations. His role didn't begin the chain reaction, but it added to the bloodshed. And prosecutors are holding him accountable. Each of these men has pleaded not guilty. None have shown public remorse. And none of them called 911 after the shooting. They ran. They hid. And now, they wait. The legal path ahead is steep. First-degree murder in Florida carries life without parole. Prosecutors have not ruled out the death penalty, especially for Williams. Gun enhancement laws could add decades to each attempted murder count, and all 3 trials are moving forward separately. Each defendant is pointing at the others, but the video evidence, it doesn't care about blame games. It just plays. Meanwhile, Michaela Sipp's family has been showing up at bond hearings, at pre-trials, at candlelight vigils in the same courtyard where she died. They don't just want time served. They want time recognized. They want people to say her name not because she died on camera, but because she lived with purpose. Her grandmother now raises the boys. Her mother still visits her salon chair, where that pink neon sign, Ruby Curer, hasn't been unplugged. Subscribe to True Crime Case Tapes? Not because it helps us, but because next week's story starts with a text message and ends with a body no one claimed. And if you've watched this far and you're still not subscribed, tell us why in the comments. Then hit like, hit share, and ring the bell. Because what we sit covering next, it makes us look like the calm before something much worse. The concrete sits clean now. The live stream sips deleted. The car that fled is gone. But her chair? Still there, still glowing, still empty. People walk into the salon expecting Ruby's laugh. They see the neon sign, Ruby Kior, still buzzing, still pink, but there sets no appointment, no stylist, no Michaela. The woman who built a future with a comb in one hand and a toddler on her hip, silenced by a bullet fired because someone couldn't lose a fight. And now we stir left with a single question. If a mother can be gunned down in front of a crowd, on camera, at 2:30 in the afternoon, what makes you think you're safe? Sleep tight. We still see you next time. If you still watching,